Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Fuck J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number one in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
Welcome everybody to Tiger Club Radio. This is your host, Critical Failure. We're doing some podcasting. Got all the fans on because it's baking in my office. Hope you guys are doing good. We got some good chip tunes. A lot of stuff is going on this week. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to get into it. Let's start with the chip tunes. So last week we played a bit from, what was it? Not chip equals, was it chip equals flipped? It might have been. Yeah, it was chip equals flipped. Now, there was a comment that I'll read at the end of the show with the fail bag that about last week's tunes not sounding a whole lot like chip tunes. And you know what? I do have to agree. It's a little bit more of chip-inspired dance tunes rather than actual chip tunes, perhaps. But you know what? They're quality tunes anyway. I think we're going to do chip equals flipped one more time. And then we'll move on to something else next week. But there's a lot of really good songs that we haven't covered. So keep it right here. We're gonna listen to some chip-inspired dance music as opposed to pure chip tunes. I think they used a word for that back in the 8BC days. I don't know if they still use this word, but they used to call it fake bit as opposed to chip tune. So it's not really made with a sound chip or with a retro computing sound chip. It's made with modern music solution tools to sound like that. And that's okay. Anyway, you're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Let's dig into it. think he's right. I think that might be pretty far from chiptunes. But I'll tell you what, it's a good track anyway. Alright, boys and girls. So it's been a crazy week, and there's a lot of stuff I want to get into, but I want to get things in order. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to play the Vancast. Now, I want you to understand something. That after my first day of work at my job, I think it was we had Monday off, so I went to work Tuesday. And then Wednesday is when everything blew up. And the video game world for me pretty much exploded. So let's take a listen to see. I think if I remember right, the first Vancast, I said, hey, it's Monday morning when it was actually Tuesday. So I don't know. Let's see how the week started. Then we're going to meet back up afterwards. And then we'll compare notes on how things have changed. Keep it right here. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Tuesday morning, and it is foggy out today, man. I haven't seen it this foggy in a long time. It is the Vancast. We're going to talk some video games today, guys. Let's start with the Atari. I ordered 2 Atari games recently, and they both, in both cases, the dealer just went, same dealer, he just went dead. They were never marked as shipped. They were never, I sent emails asking what the deal was. They were never responded to, and then I had to have eBay step in and get me my refunds, which was such a pain because this whole process took weeks. And I wanted the games. That's really it. It's like if it took a while longer, that was fine, but I missed out on the Towering Inferno for the Atari. If you're not familiar with the Towering Inferno, in its day, that was like a huge star-studded movie that is like a favorite in my house. I like that movie a lot. It's got the comedy tag team duo of Fred Astaire and O.J. Simpson. So the Atari game tied the licensed Atari game tie-in to that movie was one of the ones I ordered, along with a game called Bermuda Triangle. So a couple of new games, and now I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to find something else, which is okay. That was just like a side note that happened. The big thing that was going on this weekend for me was Halo. Now, you've heard me say before, over at the Cartridge Club, they're playing Halo this month. And I ordered a copy of Halo Combat Evolved, and it's not going to come. It hasn't arrived in the mail yet, and we've only got 2 more days left in the month, so it's not going to be here in time. But knowing that, I dug in deep to Halo 2, because it's the next best thing, I guess, next closest thing. So I've been playing Halo 2, and I really forgot how awesome those Halo games were. Just playing through the single-player campaign for Halo 2 has been really awesome. I would like to have played it more than I did. Like, after a couple of sittings, I'm just getting to the part where you take over as the Arbiter and you play as the Covenant. Very, very, I remember playing that for the first time and thinking what a curveball it was. But yeah, it's a great game. It kind of sucks experiencing it without anybody to play local multiplayer, play a little split screen, because that's when my fondest memories of Halo were. But it's awesome just to play as the Master Chief again, and be familiar with playing an FPS on a controller again, which is something I haven't done in a very long time. So Halo is a good game to do that with if you're going back to the controller for the first time in a while. We're just coming off Memorial Day weekend, so it was a long one, and it rained for a lot of the weekend. So a lot of time was spent me entertaining the children and just spending time with them. while my wife caught up on her sleep. So my office is destroyed. I mean, I kept trying to. I'd take the kids up there, and we'd play games together. And then when we were all done, I would send them downstairs, and I would do the best I could to clean up, because I knew work was going to come, and I was going to go up to get changed for work, and I was just going to be met with destruction. And no matter how much I cleaned, no matter how much I tried to keep things in order, the kids would just double down on pulling stuff out and just being crazy. And that's fine. I've been a dad long enough to know that was going to be the end result no matter what. But I can't help but feel bummed out when I walk into that and I start stepping over toys and stuff just to get ready for work. But the time we spent there was a lot of fun. We played, I've got a game called Pac-Man 256, which is like a bundle. It was a Pac-Man game that showed up in bundles quite a lot in the past. You basically have Pac-Man, but instead of the traditional closed arena, it extends upward infinitely. And then there's a glitch wave at the bottom that's trying to kill you. So we ended up playing, that has local multiplayer, 4-player local multi. So I ended up playing that with my kids. And it's great because if somebody dies in the game, then you can find like a token that'll bring someone back to life. So I was able to play it with both my kids, including my daughter, who's 4 years old. So she would die over and over again, and then my son and I would do the best we could to bring her back. And it was cool, man. It was a good time. It's like a little peripheral game that I just picked up in bundles and saw everywhere for a while, and we played it for several hours yesterday. So that was really cool. So let's play the game I like to play when I wrap up the Vancast, and that's what would I play if I were absolved of all responsibility. And that's a tough one, because I'm starting my work week after a long weekend right now, so now I'm doing the best I can to focus on work as much as possible. But if I were to go home and play, it might be Street Fighter V, because I put that game aside for a while, but I've heard inklings of, I don't know if new characters have been added since I played last, or if it's just the announcement, but I believe Cody is being added to that game. And I've got the season 3 character pass, so if he has been added, he'll show up in my roster. So Street Fighter V, but also after spending so much time with the children this weekend, I'd want to play something really, really violent to kind of clear the palate. So I don't have, apart from the little Street Fighter V, I don't have an answer to what I would play that's violent. Part of me says Killing Floor. That's the game that comes to mind immediately when I think of, let's play a good violent game. I would play Killing Floor or the new Doom, the 2016 Doom. But I uninstalled 2016 Doom because it's like 70 gigabytes and I hadn't been playing it. So I let that go for now, and that's quite a beast to reinstall. Like, if that was the game I was going to play and I went home right now and I hit reinstall, it would be, it'd be a good chunk of my time just getting it going again. So I don't know. I guess that's my story and I'm sticking to it. I'll see you guys back in the studio. Yeah, I had forgot, since I recorded that, I forgot about those rogue Atari games that just never showed up. I did get refunds, which was, it was good. I got my money back, but I really just wanted the games. So now I got to go through. If I want those same games, I got to see if I can find the same deal. And then I'll have to wait an extra week or whatever, however long it takes to ship them, which is, it is what it is. But let me tell you, all that stuff with the Atari games, all that took a back seat when this next thing happened. All right? A package showed up in the mail from your boy Desm 101, and it changed everything. If you've been watching my YouTube channel, you've probably already seen what it is by now. But it really changed everything, and it was all I could think about for the rest of the week. All right, so let's go ahead and let the cat out of the bag with the next Vancast. Stay with me. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. It's the Vancast, Wednesday morning, heading off to work, and it's foggy again. Whatever, we'll deal with it. It'll be fine. Last night, I had the hugest unboxing / package opening of my life. And this is all going to be up on YouTube by the time you're hearing it, so I feel like I can talk about it. Desmond 101 sent me a package. And it was quite the package indeed, my friend. Had a Sega Saturn in it. Third Sega Saturn of my gaming career. And I gotta say, it blew my mind. What? The sad part about it was, like, I had this big package, right? And I was like, okay, I know when I get this open, I gotta film something. I gotta have some sort of unboxing video, just a little bit of, hey, here's what's in it. As a way to tip my hat and say thanks. And I was busy all day with the kids, right? And so I couldn't touch this thing until like 9:30 at night, knowing that I had to get up at 5 the next morning. So I opened this box and it had a Sega Saturn in it, and I'm like, oh yes, this changes everything. And then I looked at all the other stuff that was in the box. There was an Atari game. It had Star Master in it. It had Comic Zone for the Sega Genesis, which at the time when I was opening it, I thought I had that already, but it turns out I didn't. Very weird when that happens. So that's awesome. And it had, I believe it was the Jungle Book. Is it the Jungle Book? Toy Story. Yeah, there's Toy Story for the Sega Genesis in box, which is awesome. What else? Iron Tank, which is super cool. I can't wait to play Iron Tank for the NES because my recollections of that game are vague at best. So I'm looking forward to playing that one. But my NES is in like the main TV room, and I don't mess with that TV when the kids are asleep because it would just wake them right up. They're like right in the next room. So I'll have to play Iron Tank in the middle of the day. And my first ever Nintendo Power. Let's talk about that for a second, because when I was a kid, my brothers subscribed to Nintendo Power, and I get to read them as they came in. But I was very, very little, so the amount I actually read was not a lot. And I was also, I was able to look at them as much as they would allow me to. It's the first ever Nintendo Power that's like, I get to keep this. This is mine. It goes in my collection now. And it was one I recognized as the Maniac Mansion one. It had sort of like a claymation recreation of Maniac Mansion on it. It's beautiful. I got to flip through it a little bit, but again, I didn't really have time to dig into any of this stuff. So that's awesome. So now, here I am the next morning. Because mind you, after that, I went to bed and I was like, all excited. I was like, okay, somehow I gotta find a way to get to sleep. So now it's the next morning and I'm going to do my shift at work. And let me tell you, it's this, the game I often play where it's like, if I were absolved of all responsibilities, I'll be playing that game in my head all day today. Because all I can think about is firing up that Sega Saturn and breaking new ground in my game collection. I got that copy of Halo Combat Evolved, and it looks beautiful, and I'm probably not going to fire that thing up even once. Not for now. Even if I went back to Halo at this point, after getting a Sega Saturn, I've been playing Halo 2 too much. So, oh well. Huge thanks to Desmond 101 for that package, which it does indeed change everything, my man. I don't know exactly how things are going to go over the next month, but the things that I had in mind to get for myself are all different now. And now I got to think, I'm thinking of different ways I can make content now. I hadn't really been... I'd put aside this whole idea of let's capture footage from consoles and do things that way. But now I really have to reopen that and examine it. Sega Saturn's a tough one, man. It's a tough one to get a hold of. It's a tough one to collect for. You can't emulate it. So having that hardware, it seems like a good time to find a way to get footage and turn that into some content. But we'll see. We'll have to see what the future holds. I can tell you without a doubt that's what I would be doing if I was, could just go home and take the day off of work. It would be Sega Saturn day. I'd be dusting off all my old equipment, trying to figure out what I do and don't have anymore from my old Sega Saturns. Playing Virtua Fighter 2 and having a good old time and looking at what I can order next. Because that's the thing. A lot of desirable games on the Sega Saturn are like $1 million. Or to be more accurate, a couple $100. So, I don't know. Like, I can think of games that I would love to play. Sega's got a lot of really awesome shmups, so I'd want to figure out what the cool shmups are for the Sega Saturn. Right? There's that thing you can put in the back of the system that makes it so you can play imports, right? Help me out, guys who've owned Sega Saturns forever. So, like, Radiant Silvergun, isn't that like a shmup holy grail? I'd have to figure out some way to play imports. You can import for the Sega Saturn, then you'll be alright. I think that's my plan, but I'm throwing that out there, not having Googled it even one time. So I definitely have some research to do, and we'll just have to see. But for now, I have to focus on work. I got to go do my full day of work and give that my full attention, because that's what they pay me to do. So I will see you guys back in the studio, and we'll see how it goes. Ever since that day, the night before when I opened the package, and the morning when I had to run out without touching anything, Sega Saturn has dominated my thoughts. I'm already making arrangements to get my hands on an action replay, so I can get a hold of I can get a hold of imports. Imports really seem to be where the affordable games are. You're either playing imports, or you're playing American sports games, or you're doing some way to play backed up games or pirated games. So I'm going the import route. You guys know I like to get arcade sticks for everything. So I just did a cursory look. An arcade stick for the Sega Saturn, you can get one for like $30 or so, between $30 and $40. And for an arcade stick, not too bad. So I'm willing to put that up, get myself an arcade stick, and that's going to open up the shmup market a little bit, because I like to play those with an old arcade stick. And I know the Sega Saturn's got Dodonpachi and Donpachi and a lot of really good shmups for the Sega Saturn. One thing that bummed me out was, I remember a long while back, this is a long while back, I don't know how long, but more than a couple years, I looked up how much it would cost for a copy of Radiant Silvergun, because I knew that was like a buzzword game. However good or bad the game is, it was a game that at the time collectors were showing off just as, like, achievement unlocked, you've got Radiant Silvergun. And it would show up in like a lot of collection videos, a lot of collector channels, like all at once. I looked it up and it was about $80 for a copy at that time. I looked up Radiant Silvergun last night at $230. Yeah, I feel like I kind of missed the party on that one, because I'm not gonna get that. Donpachi was about $80. It was like $75 or so. So I might get a copy of that one day. But those are just like high-end games. There are a lot of really attainable imports for like $10, $15. Things like that, like regular, in the realm of reality type price range. So yeah, that has been, I've been beyond excited. So that being all I have for the Vancast this week, is a really Vancast light week, which I think is something TCR has badly needed. Couple of things. Let's take a minute to thank the sponsors. This is a Patreon-funded podcast, and these guys, I wish I could do more for these guys. They give up their resources to make sure the TCR shows up every single week. And all I can give them is early access to the show. They get it a few nights early, whatever. Friday night, sometimes Saturday night. When I get it done, they get a hold of it. And I also read their names off in a hall of distinguished gentlemen. Now they are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, Six Health the Fury, and the Cartridge Brothers. Thank you guys so much. I also want to mention, I made a post about this on the website, tigerclawtv.com. There's something going on with the archive. You longtime listeners probably know that there's an archive.org listing for Tiger Claw Radio, and it has hundreds of hours of TCR. If you want to go back and listen to what TCR sounded like when Skyrim first came out, you can go listen to those. They're all there, but something is happening. The past few weeks, I've been having issues when I go to upload the latest episode into the archive. It'll say it's finished. It'll say it's all set. I'll cue it to update, and then nothing will happen, and I won't know it. And then the episode just won't be there until somebody tells me about it. Well, I sat down with it this morning, and I tried for like an hour, and I couldn't get anything to upload and stick. So something's going on with the archive. I'm sure it's something minor, like I probably just have to upgrade Flash on my computer or something. Something like that. I've tried a couple of browsers. It's been really acting wonky. I'll get it figured out at some point very soon. Just know that if you go looking for an episode in the archive and it's not there, you're not crazy. I'm having technical difficulties with it. In the meantime, you can still get MP3 copies from Podomatic for the last 3 to 5 episodes. They only let me have so much space over there, so that archive has to roll. You can go there and get MP3s though. And then everything's on YouTube from about 174 up. So if you're really in a pinch, you could go to one of those websites that will convert your YouTube links into MP3s. If you want to download just the MP3 audio of a YouTube video, you could do that. I've done that with podcasts before. So I just wanted to keep you guys in the loop in terms of what's happening there. All right, so we got the fail bag coming up. We're going to go over a few comments. But first things first, we're going to play another Chip tune. But rather than something else from Chip equals flipped, let's hear something that really sounds like a Chip tune. Okay, this is an old favorite artist, 8-Bit Nintendo, who we've played many times here, but not this track and not something from this album. The album is called Nessie, and it's the 4th track, Swingin' Seat. It's got a really positive vibe to it, really kind of upbeat and happy, but also very much a Chip tune, unmistakably a Chip tune. All right. Listen up, tell me what you think. Swing Seat from 8-Bit Nintendo off the album Nessie. Get yourself a copy because all 8-Bit Nintendo albums are free. You just got to look him up. A long time ago, this is another one I've told many times on the air, but a long time ago, there was an album from him called, what was it? Was it Colored Pixels? I think that was it. No, I'm sorry. It was called Lo-Fi World. And that album, we played them on the air. Colored Pixels was a track off of that song. Hang on a second. This is what it sounded like. This is Colored Pixels, which was the song from Lo-Fi World. I played this on the air, I don't know, 5 years ago. And it got passed around. Vintage Video Game Geek downloaded this album, and a lot of the tracks off of this album ended up making it in Vintage Video Game Geek videos, NES Complex videos, and when they did their podcast together, one of the songs from this album, not this one, but one of them ended up being their theme song. And I guess it bothered me a little bit that I never saw like any kind of nod to 8-Bit Nintendo from their work. Now, those are great guys, but I also think 8-Bit Nintendo is awesome. This album, the whole album this track comes from, top to bottom, is stellar. It's a must download in my opinion. Hang on a second, let me cut this. And I think at some point, a little nod would have been nice. But you're getting it from me. That's a Lo-Fi World. It's an amazing album. 19 tracks. Definitely has some length to it. Some point, a few months back, I looked this guy up to see what else he had done, and I ended up downloading his entire discography. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 albums came out after that. And he kept the same bar of quality. So if you just want like a big bank of chiptunes that you can just drill through nonstop, that's a good place to start. Chiptunes that are really unmistakably chip, unmistakably Famicom, unmistakably authentic. That's where you go. In other news related to chiptunes, Battle of the Bits released the Winter Chip 13 compilation album. Now, the way they had been doing this up until this point was whenever Battle of the Bits releases an album onto their Bandcamp, it becomes free, and the last album they released then gets a price. So they've got a great big catalog that's all like $1 to $2 or $3, but if you're quick, you can get the latest one for free. So you got to watch. Get the new one when it comes out. But the Battle of the Bits Winter Chip 13 album is $1. They want $1 for it. And at first I was really disappointed, but this is 50 tracks. 50. So I'm thinking about it. I haven't dropped the $1 yet. But I can tell you the last one that was up, Cheese Dance, is now $3. So I don't know. I was really hoping to get a copy of that for free. And not to mention, we had to wait a long time. Tomorrow's the 1st of June. And here we are, Winter Chip is just coming out. But I've only been following Battle of the Bits for like, I don't know, 4 months, 5 months. How long's it been, guys? So this is a new thing to me. Let's see how much they're charging for Winter Chip 13 from the previous year. Yeah, that's $5. So if they follow what they've done in the past, we get it for $1 now, and if you wait till the next release comes out, then the price is going to go up to $5. So, be that as it may, but that's 50 tracks. 50 tracks of a well-curated cultural hub, competition that everybody participated in. There's names on this album that I recognize. So, I don't know. I don't know. Can we talk about the Atari VCS just a little bit? I was kind of done covering this thing, but they opened pre-orders for the new Atari system, and yeah, they are doing very well. Whatever their Indiegogo goal was, they smashed it to pieces, and I'm gonna look it up right now. But they wanted like $500,000 to get this thing off the ground, and they ended up getting like, I don't know, $1 million plus or something. Atari VCS Indiegogo. Alright, hang with me, guys. I'm going to get you those numbers, because I found this to be interesting. This was another little kind of shocker about the Atari VCS really becoming real. Alright, so here we go. They wanted $100,000, and as of right now, they got $2,132,052. at 2,132% of their goal. So they smashed it, and this thing is funded. And I gotta say, I didn't back it, but I was tempted to. I was really tempted to. Because I gotta say, I'm tired of Nintendo. I'm tired of Microsoft. I'm tired of Sony. I'm tired of the big three. We need a new face in the console race. And I feel like the Atari VCS is getting slammed at every turn. Everybody laughed. It was the cool thing to do, to make this is going to be another Ouya video when that was when they first announced it. I still kind of laugh about it because it's ridiculous. Like, as of right now, I'd have to pay $200 for a console with no add-ons, $229 for a classic controller and a console, $320 is what I'd have to pay for a console, the little classic joystick, and one of those Xbox look-alike controllers. That would be the package that I would buy. It's $319. So where I'm at with this thing, I want it to come out. I want it to be real. I'm not going to back it because at this point they don't need my money. Hey man, you guys got $2 million. Put this thing out, and when it comes out, if it comes out and real games are being made for it, I'm in. Because I was a big hater of this Atari VCS thing, and I gotta say, I'm not saying they won me over, but they definitely have my attention. They have my attention, and they have the money to build their product. So, Atari, even though we know that through corporate evolution, this is not the same company as it was in the 70s. It's a different company now that owns the name. But that doesn't matter. Atari, make a good product, and you got a customer. All right. They have an unmistakable, real shot to make this happen and make it good. And that's more than I would have said about them 6 months ago. In other news, there was an announcement from GameStar81, and I haven't posted this on TigerClawTV.com, but I should. I just haven't got around to it yet. Is it Tommy? I always get this guy's name confused. Tommy Tallarico now owns the rights to the intellectual property behind the Intellivision. And he stated that he's going into the console race, brother. There's going to be a new Intellivision. We don't know when. Games31 speculated we're looking at 2019, perhaps. He said not this year and not even next year. He talked about bringing back the Nintendo seal of approval, bringing back release control. It's so interesting. It's fascinating to me to hear a company advertise themselves based on a closed ecosystem as opposed to an open ecosystem. Especially if this thing comes out and ends up going head-to-head with the Atari VCS. Because you got Tommy Tallarico and his Intellivision with a closed system where you have to have a certain quality bar to get in and get your game sold, versus the Atari VCS, which they're saying is going to run a modified version of Ubuntu. And that couldn't be more open. And you put these two, bulldogs head to head, little tiny dogs at this point, we'll see what happens. Put them head to head, and let's see what happens. Let's see which dog wins. And I gotta say, I am excited at the prospect. We'll have to see. I don't know. Mostly what I see happening is one of the existing big three is going to try and create some sort of killer, some sort of temporary product to smash these guys. Take the Ouya. The Ouya is what the Atari VCS is compared to a lot. When the Ouya was coming up, Sony released, I can't even remember what it was called. Do you guys remember what Sony put out? It was like $100 and it played PSP games or Vita games or something like that. It was like Sony TV or something. And then once they smashed the Ouya to pieces, now they don't sell that thing anymore, do they? Do they? I've heard people say that. I got to look it up. But here we see an example of a product that was specifically designed to murder a company. And that's what I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see some sort of smaller product come from from Atari, or not Atari, some smaller product come from, it's not going to come from Nintendo. Probably Sony or maybe Microsoft. Maybe it'll be Sony again. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not as familiar with the video games division of modern Microsoft. I know modern Nintendo pretty well, just from following their press releases over the past 10 years, or my entire life, or however long it's been. Sony, I kind of know. But Microsoft, I never really took Microsoft seriously as a company that I would get behind financially. I never really forgave them for the whole Ring of Death thing. You know, kids were buying consoles. Their consoles were defective. They were contacting the company. They were given defective consoles to replace the defective consoles. And when they called those defective consoles in, they were told, sorry, kid, you're out of luck. To me, that's a scumbag company. Even though that was more than 10 years ago, was it more than 10 years ago? I don't know, however long ago it was when the Xbox 360 was in its first couple years. I still remember that. You know what I mean? I hold on to that little piece of video game history. So we'll see. And I didn't mean to go down this rabbit hole of Atari VCS versus the new Intellivision, but Atari versus Intellivision. We had that battle before in history, didn't we? We'll have to see, man. What we haven't seen is anything modern running on Atari VCS yet. There's footage of it running old school Atari games, and there's footage of a new version of Tempest that looks pretty shiny, but is still just Tempest. I think that's when this really becomes real. When the first Atari VCS game, whatever it is, even if it's a port of some game that everybody has access to already, when we see what this thing can do, that's when this becomes real. Because right now we're still seeing nothing. It's still just an idea. But I'm looking at that $2.1 million, and it's an idea that somebody's getting behind. So we'll have to see what happens. But alright, boys and girls, you know what time it is. Let's do the fail bag. This is the part of the show where we take advantage of the fact that this is a small show. It's just me here. It's just you here. I'm not getting a lot of numbers. I'm not getting a lot of hits. I will tip my hat to Podomatic, because over the past 4 weeks or so, we've been doing very well on Podomatic. Numbers have been way, way up ever since we got the streaming going on. People are clicking in from TigerClawTV.com and listening, and that's been awesome. So hello to the Podomatic listeners. You guys can reach me by going to TigerClawTV.com, leaving a comment. You can go to the next round. You can leave a comment there. The best way is through YouTube. That's where most people reach out to me, and it's the most effective. So let's see what we got. We got two comments on the YouTube listing for Tiger Claw Radio 236. The first one is from What's on My Shelf. And before I read it, let me just say, dude, I know I was going to do that list of my Atari games. So sorry I haven't done that yet. And the only real excuse I can give you is that I'm a bad person. So let's read on. He writes, those chip tunes didn't really seem chippy. Maybe it was because there's so many sound channels running concurrently. As a recommendation of a true chip tune, I recommend the NES VR C6 Chip Enhanced Mega Man 3 Soundcheck by Rush Jet on Bandcamp, titled Mega Man 3 Remade. This hypothetical Twisted Metal online community is consumed with Rocket League. Listen, soccer isn't America's bag, but it's much more popular around the world. Throw in some RC car explosive action, minus the non-G rated content, and you can understand the widespread appeal. Thanks, man. Yeah, for writing in. It's good to hear from you. We got a couple of things here. I forgot about Rocket League. You're right about that. And I never bought Rocket League either. I just there's just too many things. I never bought it. It's gone on sale a couple times. I want to buy it. It's one that's been on my wish list for a while. I just haven't made it happen. Let's talk about chiptunes a little bit more. So you mentioned Rush Jet. Rush Jet I know from, I can't remember what it's called, but he's got some releases on 8-Bit Peoples that have been around forever. And I'm going to look this album you're talking about right now up. Mega Man 3 Remade from Rush Jet. Rush Jet. Alright, hang on. Rush Jet 1. Bear with me. I'm still digging for the Bandcamp. rushjet1.com/album. There it is. Buy digital album. Name your price. And they sell a CD. No vinyl, though. Alright. And we got, Cave Story Femitrax. Yeah, Rushjet's another really talented dude. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have some fun with this Bandcamp page. There's a couple of releases I can see here that would be worth a download. There's a Mega Man 2 remade. How about that? Let me go back to your comment. What was the first thing you said? Hang on. Bear with me, guys. I know this is probably really terrible to listen to. You said that recommend the NES VR C6 chip enhanced to Mega Man 3 soundtrack. Okay, so that's So that's it. It wasn't that plus something else. A lot of stuff. Out There. There it is. Out There was the album that I got from 8-Bit Peoples a long time ago. And here it is extended with 6 additional tracks on his Bandcamp page. Jeez Louise. I've been out of hardcore following chiptunes for so long. I never really, scraped Bandcamp. That's kind of a new thing for me, scraping through Bandcamp. I would follow net labels. That's what I did. That's what I still do, is I follow net labels, and that way, rather than just downloading an individual's album, you're kind of checking out the community, at least on a superficial level. The problem with net labels is that they run dry. They run dry for long periods of time, and then they come back, and then they run dry again. Just like following a webcomic. That happened with Super Mega Comics for several years. I tried to follow Pterodactyl Squad, which is an awesome, awesome net label. There's really good chip albums over on Pterodactyl Squad that you can download, and they're all free. During the reboot, they would put out an album every month. There was a new album out on Pterodactyl Squad, and that was really enough for me. But the last one that went up was a 1-track album. It just had 1 track on it, and that was it. And there hasn't been anything for the longest time since then. All right, man. Props to What's on My Shelf for pointing out the Rush Jet 1, his Bandcamp page, and for dropping that Mega Man 3 album title on me. That's something that I'm going to check out. Maybe we'll play some of that next week. Take a break from the Battle of the Bits releases and the Chiptune Equals Win releases. Lots of good releases, but we'll check. We'll dig into some of that stuff next week. What I did find, apart from that, the one time I did take a look around Bandcamp is not for chiptunes, but rather for synthwave or vaporwave, I guess it would be called. Any vaporwave guys out there? And I know it's not a new thing. It's several years old now. But now that it's been around a while, now is the time to get into it, because now you're stepping into a world with 100 billion albums out that you can just download on a Friday afternoon and put on your phone. You can just take entire legacies of music and just drop them on your phone like it's nothing. I got back into vaporwave. I was never a huge vaporwave head, but I got back into it by just coming across a video about the flagship release from Macintosh Pro, Floral Shop, which, by the way, in my opinion, is somewhat of an overrated album. I like the track that everybody knows, and the rest of the album is pretty good. But there was a vinyl pressing of that album. It came out on vinyl, and apparently it was a big to do when it happened. So that got me looking into vaporwave a little bit. Now, I don't have anything to present for you today in terms of vaporwave. But there's some fun stuff out there that's had my attention, just a little bit. I tend to, I guess it would be more, for me, I'm more into synthwave than vaporwave. A little less repetition, a little bit more original music, imitating what it's supposed to be like, rather than, taking existing tracks and slowing them down. So it's not exactly the same thing, but pretty close. It has kind of the same vibe to it. I don't know. I did find some of that on Bandcamp, but be that as it may, I'll tell you what, I'm going to scrape a little bit more. Next week I'll come back with something we can listen to together. For now, let's go to the second comment we have, because there was only two, and the other one's from Desm101, who, by the way, right now is my absolute hero, because he sent me a freaking Sega Saturn. Holy sh! If I could just collect my thoughts for a second. You're talking about a box that changed everything. I sat down with my son, Desm, who, when he was a baby, played a hand in destroying my already ailing old Saturn, the one that was like half broken when it got out of the box. I sat down and told him that story about how when he was 2 years old, he was like pretending to be a DJ or whatever. Well, he's 8 now. He's older. So I told him that story, and I told him about the Saturn. I was like, it's this old system. It's got some really great games on it, but you can't get them anywhere else. And it's like one of the last video game things that you can't get anywhere else. That's not like an Xbox or more. And the great titles that everybody loves, and they're super expensive, and this is really the only way to do it. And he was digging it. He's a little standoffish, my son. He's really like, show me the money. Get your hands on a second controller. Get your hands on some awesome games, and then we'll talk. It's really funny. It's an incredibly sensible approach to video games for an 8-year-old. But that's my son, man. He's a trip. So let's read Desm101's comment. He writes, I love portable gaming, but the issue I have is trying to sit there playing a portable system for an extended period of time. It gets very uncomfortable for me. And then he puts a time signature at 1 hour and 12 minutes in. Wow, I remember hearing about Darkspire when it was released. A stylish dungeon crawler. Thanks for reminding me. Okay, so we got 2 points here. We got portable gaming, and then we got the Darkspire. Let's talk a bit about portable gaming. I'm with you. It's difficult to sit in one spot for a long period of time for me, but I've had times in my life where waiting for long periods of time is a regular thing. So when I was 20, I lived in one city, and I was a waiter at an IHOP 2 cities over. So I would take the bus 2 hours to work in the morning, and I would take it 2 hours home at night. So I was on the bus for 4 hours a day. Portable gaming would have saved my life in that era. It didn't, because I couldn't afford it. What I had instead was a Discman and CDs, and I knew every note of just about every punk album of the time, because that's what I had. Couldn't afford a computer, couldn't afford the internet, didn't know how to go about those things if I got a hold of some money, and that was my life. If you don't own a car, you have to own one of these machines. That's just it's a reality. It was a reality of my past, so it's something I'm always sensitive of henceforth. Bus stops, other good places to get portable games. So I can't imagine sitting at home and playing a Game Boy. Not now with all the machines that we have these days. I mean, I got that laptop, a few weeks back. A little underpowered laptop, a little 16-inch screen. That's as close to a Game Boy as I think I'll ever play at home. I sit in bed, my wife will have the TV on, and I'll click around in some game with that thing. But yeah, I don't know. On the other hand, back when Soul Silver came out, I put 100 hours into that. I don't know. I don't know how I did it, to be honest with you, because I had a baby at that point. I must have been playing while he was in my lap trying to go to sleep. That's the only way I can imagine, because I used to sit in my son's room in a rocker when he was a baby and just try and rock him to sleep. I was up at night with him a lot. And looking back, I can't remember how I did anything, let alone gaming. All right. As far as the Darkspire is concerned, It's awesome. I wish I'd played it more than I did. I didn't get very far in it. It stays true to that whole dungeon crawler difficulty. Those types of games tend to be very difficult. And it came with a CD. It came with a music CD. But I personally thought some of the tracks in that game were very weird. It was good music, but they had like a synthesized opera singer instrument sound on their keyboard, and you could tell. It's like anytime you're listening to someone sing and it's not really a person, it just becomes painfully obvious to me, and I have a hard time with it. But gaming-wise, just the gameplay-wise, it's sweet. They heavily advertised the fact that you could go to a wireframe if you wanted. You could cut all the textures and just drop to a wireframe dungeon crawl. So it really did look like wizardry. It's super cool, man. It's very cool. I like those kinds of games. I do. I haven't got a brand new one in a while, but I've been checking out a lot of the older ones. The last one that really took me was Dungeon Hack. Dungeon Hack is an amazing game, man. I can't believe I never knew about it like back in the day when I was like playing Windows games in the 90s. It's like Eye of the Beholder. That's the game. It built on the Eye of the Beholder engine, but totally random every time. That's a great game. All right, guys, we're 56 minutes and 51 seconds in, and I've got a Sega Saturn that's just looking at me right in the face here. And I gotta say, these last few minutes, they're getting kind of tough to get through because I want to play some games. And it feels awesome to be excited about games again. It really does. So whatever's brought you here, 57 minutes and 10 seconds into Tiger Claw Radio, thanks for spending time with me. It's you know, it always astounds me how much there is out there in terms of entertainment and just things you could listen to and things you could do and watch. So all of the folks who spend time listening to TCR, I greatly appreciate it. I really do. Check out TigerClawTV.com for new videos and stuff. All the things in the community that I think are noteworthy, I try and put up there. So that's a good place to follow all this. I don't have any kind of forum, none of that yet. So the forum button is dead on my website, and I still see people clicking it when I look at my statistics. So I'm sorry, I haven't worked that out just yet. I think, yeah, I don't know. I've had some ideas on how to handle that, but nothing concrete, nothing I'm willing to cement to the ground just yet. All right, boys and girls, play some video games this week. Play a game that you really love, and then come back and tell me how it went. Play a game that you really love that you haven't played in forever. That game. You remember that game? Dig that out. Dig it out and put it in. See if it still works. Alright? I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.